Hello everybody, it's Paul Neeson with the Raw Life Health Show. Yes, we made it through another week. We got the weekend coming up, and I just want to talk today a little about something that happened today that made me think about things. Don't ever listen to somebody when they say you're not eating enough, because maybe you're not eating enough, but you know what? It's more likely you're eating too much. Most people overeat and they don't even realize it. Very few people will not eat enough. Now, you might not be getting enough nutrients from the food you're eating because it's not in the food or you're not able to assimilate it, but that's another story. That doesn't mean you're not eating enough. Normally you would say, well, the more I eat, aren't I getting more nutrients? Well, not if the nutrients are in the food or not in the food. So what I say is, I know a lot of people that eat a lot, and why do we overeat? Here's what I say. A lot of people eat a lot, but they're never satisfying their nutritional requirements. So what do? They end up eating more. And without ever being educated on the quality of the food they're eating, they're continuing taking a lot of food, but they're not getting anything out of it, or they're getting very little out of it. So they're never satisfying their nutritional requirements, always craving more foods. Now on top of that, you look at the emotional aspects of food, craving more food. So this creates overeating and overeating on unhealthy food. And this creates a problem because the more we eat, the more work the body has to do to process that food, to take what it needs and get rid of the rest. See, what most people do is they eat foods that give them the least but create the most work. We should be doing the opposite. We should be doing things that give us the most but take the least work for the body to get them. And if we did that, we would not require the massive amount of sleep that we do every night that most people don't get. So I tell people you need to make sure you're getting the proper amount of sleep to be healthy. That number is going to be different for everyone. But if you're overeating or eating more than you need, your body has to work that much harder to get rid of it. And all of that takes place while you're sleeping. So if you cut your sleep short, if you cut your required sleep short, you cut your healing short. Now, the answer would be to eat less so you don't require as much sleep, and that'll guarantee that you have enough time to actually get the sleep that you require. We can all get away with cutting our sleep short for a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months. Some people a couple of years. But even though we're getting away with it, something is taking place inside the body that would not be good, because the body needs that healing time. It needs to cleanse and rebuild. If we're eating more than our body can handle, this creates a problem. I remember when I was younger, I saw a show, I Love Lucy, and it was in black and white, and you had the conveyor belt and all the candy was going, and it was her job to simply take the candy, wrap it, and put it on the conveyor belt, take the candy, wrap it, and so on. Well, what happened is the conveyor belt started going faster and faster. She couldn't keep up with it. The next thing you know, she had to sweep off all the candy, and it was a pretty funny situation, but the bottom line is she couldn't keep up with it. Well, that's what's happening with our body. We're putting food in there. When we put food in our body that shouldn't be there, processed foods, unhealthy foods, animal foods, and also when we put foods in there that the body, if we're not eating it in a good combination, so even a raw food diet, it's like the body not being able to, it's like the conveyor belt was moving too fast. And eventually this will create a problem, as I spoke about the other day with the formula for health. We're adding to the obstruction when we do these things, and it takes away our energy to get rid of the obstruction. So we want to make sure that we're eating the right amount of food or the proper amount of food. Again, for each person it'll be different, but I can tell you there are people out there that promote overeating and to get their calories so they have a certain amount of energy. Well, I eat very little and I have a tremendous amount of energy, and I don't take coffee or Monster or any other of these caffeine things. You know, so many raw fooders today are overeating and they crave chocolate, which has caffeine in it, the theobromine, which isn't good for the body, but maybe because they're not getting the required sleep because they're eating too much and they're not getting enough sleep, so they need something to keep them awake, some buzz or something. So chocolate's their safe alternative. There's nothing safe about chocolate. So these are the problems people have, so they end up overeating on the stimulant, and they're still not getting enough sleep, but they feel okay because they're stimulated. But what happens when that stimulation wears off? They realize they made the problem worse, not better. Let me give you an example of what I did this morning. I got up very super early in the morning. I did some exercise, and then I went to go metal detecting, and the fellow I was going to meet metal detecting, he was already eating soup. It was really cold outside today here, and he was eating some soup. And it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I had some water. I didn't have anything else, just my water. And I went for about 3 hours with no problem. And I just had my first smoothie. It's around 10 o'clock, but I could have just kept going. And I'm not depleting my body of what it needs. I'm monitoring my blood work. I'm monitoring what I need, and I'm making sure I get what I need, and I will eat throughout the day. I'm going to have my salad. I had my smoothie. I might have some snacks. But that's it. I'm not going to go overeating, and going crazy. I'm not trying to fit more food in my body than it needs. And there are some people that do that, and they say, because I call it undereating because I'm not overeating, but I'm eating just what I need or a little bit less to create a situation where my body doesn't have to work that hard. And for all the people out there that are sitting there eating so much food and worried about how many calories they're getting and everything else, I could be sure I could last just as long as they could energy-wise doing certain activities. But getting back to these people, I understand because I used to be there. And I used to be very much into the calorie counting and the nutrient counting and all of this. No, folks. It's not necessary. The number is going to be different for everyone. And when we don't put things like stimulants like caffeine and things like this, our body will react the way it should and then tell us what we should be doing. So look, if you lose that sensation of feeling, so if you put your hand over a flame and it's supposed to feel warm or hot because it's telling you something is wrong. But if you lose that sense of pain and you put your hand over a flame and it doesn't tell you that it's creating damage, you're not going to know, and you're just going to keep doing what's creating the problem. Well, this often happens when we take stimulants like caffeine via chocolate and things like this. We mask the problem, so we don't know actually. We're losing that ability to let the body react properly to what is going on. So there's really several issues here. There's making sure we're eating the right amount of food for us. And the longer you do this, if you do this the right way, you should need less food, not more. Of course, our lifestyle depends on certain things. So if our lifestyle dictates that we use more energy, then yeah, maybe we can get by with eating more food. But still, even in that case, I believe the longer we're eating a healthier diet and the cleaner we are, and if we're eating good quality food, the less we need as we grow older and not the more. So we want to keep these things in mind. Now, if your experience has been different, that's fine. Everyone has their own experience. I've been doing this now for almost 20 years, and I think I know what works good for me, and people have to figure out what works best for themselves. But for me and most of the people that I've interviewed and seen that have been successful at eating the raw food diet, over time they ended up eating less and just focusing more on the quality of the food and combining the food, and also not eating at nighttime, which is another topic we can get into another day. It's the nighttime eating. But if you have any comments or questions about this, post them below the video and we'll look into it. But just try it for the weekend. Try it this weekend maybe, just to eat less. Maybe, half of the amount you normally eat in the meals and the amount of meals. And see how it goes. See how you feel. Now, you're going to be tired. You're going to be weak. Well, that's a good sign that your body needs this rest. Your body's trying to detoxify or cleanse. Now, if you're somebody who's already underweight and you're having major issues with energy levels and so on, you got to look at your diet, and maybe you are eating too little. I don't know. I don't have the answer for everyone. I don't claim to do, but I know what's working with the majority of people I see out there. And I'm sure there are people that will watch this and say, well, my experience is different than yours. Well, good for you. All right. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend. Post your comments and questions below the video, and have a great day and a great raw life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.